What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Design Lab. I'm Adam, and we look at comics and art and stuff. Let's get started. Today we're looking at Strange Tales 114 from 1963, the first sort of appearance of Captain America in the Silver Age. This is why am I picking this comic to look at today? You ask. Good question. Well, I've been reading through Marvel Comics in actually not this format. I've been reading. Let me show you. I've been reading through these integral volumes. They're called L'integral. They're in French. They're the French versions of. Yeah, they're great. You can get them on Library Genesis for free. But where is it? So where's Captain America when you need him? Uh, oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah, this is the volume, and it collects basically, and it does not include this story. And I was like, why not? It's by Lee and Kirby. It seems very Captain America, but there's a trick. This is actually not really Captain America. So we're gonna get into that. But for now, just you need to know that kind of Captain America's official return is in I think Avengers #4, which I haven't gotten to yet, and then he gets his own debut in Tales of Suspense. Anyways, we're gonna go back to this though. Strange Tales. Where's it? Strange Tales 114. Strange Tales usually is. I haven't been reading these because they're not really reprinted in the volumes because they're not that significant actually. They're usually just one story with the Human Torch on his own, not without Fantastic Four, and then some other story that is even less important. And they're not usually by a great artist. That's one thing I'm noticing as I read through Marvel comics is that a lot of them, if there's no Kirby or Ditko as the artist, it's usually not that good. And usually Stan Lee as a writer is pretty boring. He basically falls back on communists or aliens, or if he's in a pinch, communist aliens, and that's about it. So the chemistry really is there when it's Lee and Kirby or Lee and Ditko. But Stan Lee on his own is not much of a writer, I don't think. Anyways, 1963 though is artistically Jack Kirby at this point hasn't really found his ideal artist. He has worked with Joe Sinnott, however you say his name, who kind of became the famous Fantastic Four inker, but he only did one issue. I think it was issue 5, where they travel back in time and the Thing becomes a pirate. So at this point, let's see who the inker is on this. I think it's Dick Ayers. Um, yeah, Dick Ayers, who's not bad as an inker. I mean, he's not horrible, but there are better inkers that have worked with Kirby. I think most people will agree on that. And when I look at Megaton Man, Don Simpson's kind of parody of Marvel comics and stuff, it looks more like this art for me to me, and I like it in a ways, but it's I have to agree it's not Kirby's best inker. Um, Kirby's art at this point is good, pretty great. But one thing I noticed, let me show you also X-Men at this point. First issue of X-Men, I almost did a video on that because the art in the first issue of X-Men is pretty horrible. I mean, I think, let's see, where are we? Um, the first issue of X-Men, who's the inker? It's Paul Reinman or something? Let me see. Yeah, Paul Reinman. And I don't know if it's because like there weren't. I mean, Kirby was obviously starting to get a lot of work at this point, and like they were giving him as much as he can handle. And I get the impression that basically they said with X Men, just like do this as quick as you can, and the art's not horrible, and it may be the inker's fault too, but the backgrounds are like non-existent. There's like no backgrounds, and I think that's just because he was doing this as quick as he could, and like 9 pages out of 10 at most there's just like a line through the middle of the page as a background, and it's kind of like really like some of his worst art I think from this year. And I'm not entirely blaming Kirby on that. I think it's a combination of speed and maybe working with a new inker. A few issues later, same inker, the art's much better, and it's like this issue. I don't know what the issue this is. Um, it's much better. Like even it's the same inker, Paul Reinman, but I would say this looks a lot better for whatever reason. Like he had more time, or there's more backgrounds, and it just looks much sharper. But anyways, let's get back to Captain America and take a look at that issue, which is where we're at. Um, all right, so Captain America. Um, so I guess this was done as a test to see if there was enough interest in Captain America. So at this point, Captain America was created, I think, in 1940, is when he first debuted. Joe Simon, Jack Kirby, the famous studio in which Kirby was mostly the artist, but Joe Simon did some art too. And they created Captain America. He was very popular. And I think they did about only like 10 issues together or something. I don't know. I read them at one point. Very different art. Kirby's art had changed a lot by the 60s. And I'm not a huge fan of the Golden Age Captain America. It's kind of boring to me. But other artists and writers took over and did things with him until I think around 1953, 54, somewhere in there. And Stan Lee and John Romita, I think, tried to revive him, and it didn't really take off. He was basically fighting communists, and it just didn't really work. And I would like to look at those issues. I've never looked at those. Maybe in a future episode of Design Labs. So make sure you're subscribed. So, anyways, Marvel, in 1961, Fantastic Four came along, then Spider-Man, Thor, Iron Man, etc., etc. And at this point, they had already had the Avengers, but no Captain America. And they said, like, let's try and see how much interest there is. So they brought him along in Strange Tales number 114. But there's a secret, and I already told you the secret. It's not the bodybuilding ad. The secret, it actually says, takes you guess the amazing twist of this great story. The twist, which I think I've already said, is that even though it says, please don't reveal the surprise ending, I'm going to reveal it and hope that after 60 years you've had a chance to, it won't be too much of a surprise. But basically, this is not Captain America. This is some criminal impersonating Captain America. And yeah. So anyways, these Strange Tales stories are kind of mixed. Like, they don't have the gravity of Fantastic Four at this point. And I would say Fantastic Four and Spider-Man are the best titles coming out from Marvel in 1963, because a lot of times Kirby would start off like on Iron Man or Thor. He would do an issue or two, and then they would hand off the art to somebody else, and then it would just suck. And yeah, like Ant-Man, like all of that. Like he would do like one or two issues, and then that was Kirby's thing. He was a creator. He would like to create stuff, and whenever they would try and like send him back to one of his creations, it just wasn't quite the same because he wanted to take it in a new direction. He was just endlessly creative. So, anyways, the art in this, I would say, is pretty good. And another reason I picked this issue is because I think we'll look at the other story briefly, the Doctor Strange story in the back. But basically, this is like the best of Marvel in 1963. It's Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in the first story, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko on the second story. So yeah, pretty good art, I would say. I mean, look at how much better it looks to me than that X-Men. I don't know why that X-Men looks so bad. If you have any theories. But basically, the stories in these Strange Tales are never that heavy. They're never as cosmic. It's usually just some hack criminal robbing a bank or something stupid, and then the Torch has to find it on his own. So anyways, look at this splash. Pretty good. I mean, this is so much better than the X-Men art, and I really do wonder why. But it's just inked better. His leg a lot thicker leg, to show it's kind of bursting into the foreground. He could have made Captain America kind of burst out of the panel a little, like have his foot hang over the edge or the hand hang over the edge. That's something that you would see later on with a lot of characters. But one thing you may notice is that Captain America's his underwear things are red, which is, I don't know if they had forgotten the actual color or if they just whatever, but they were trying to change it. But yeah, they messed up. I don't know, maybe in the earlier Captain America in the 40s they're red, I don't know, but in the 60s they noticeably decided to make it blue, not red. But anyways, this Captain America, he's kind of a dick. I love the way Kirby draws thugs. He always hides their eyes. Like that's a very common thing, is to like If you see, they're usually wearing hats, smoking, and kind of hiding their eyes. You never see their eyes. If you don't see the pupils of their eyes, they're probably the villains. Kind of funny nowadays too. They have these text stories, which um, I can't even imagine nowadays in a comic. And the ads. I don't need to show you the ads, but here's something kind of unusual because usually the hypnotism ads always have like some woman being like being hypnotized to show that she's like being taken advantage of, and for some reason this one is not showing a woman, which how strange. Also, you can usually buy like there's sometimes ads for like monkeys and stuff weird that you can buy through the mail. Anyways, this is a great panel. So this is what I'm talking about. It's pretty good inking, but it's just not as sharp as Dick's not Dick's Joe Signett or Mike Royer later on, some of his other inkers. And I saw somebody say that if these guys had time, they would have inked their own stuff and it would look better. But they were usually so rushed that they would let. The reason they had an inker, if you don't know this, is that because of the way that they reproduce the art. Just doing with pencils wouldn't work. So, you want to like sketch your art out a little better, kind of lay things out, and then you want to finish off with the inks so that you can actually reproduce it. The machines, I don't know how it worked, but the machines wouldn't pick up the pencils; it would just pick up the inks. I like how Johnny Storm too always has like a new girlfriend in every episode, and that we're never gonna see again. His girlfriend Doris Evans, I'm pretty sure would, I don't know. I like this panel a lot, but then I was looking at her legs, and they're like, she's like a grasshopper. These things, I feel like her legs should end like here, and they go on for like another 6 inches. It's like whoa. But great inking, like the way this kind of thick line. What's it called? Like in Tintin, ligne éclair or whatever, where you have like a thicker line, especially on to show things in the foreground. I think it really looks good on Kirby's art. Um, and obviously this is the funniest panel in the entire comic book. um, yeah, enough said, true believers. All right, so also I think it's funny when they show the Torch running. Like you should never show the Human Torch running. But at least in this panel we're getting backgrounds for the most part. I mean this level of background we do not get in that X-Men story. All right, so basically Captain America, he gets caught. He's actually a pretty incredible Captain America. For a criminal, he's really going the distance to like walk on tight ropes, jump off buildings. You would think this was Captain America. I could see why children back then were deceived, why they were fooled. And yeah, look at this. This level of art. This is a pretty like detailed perspective, a lot of detail in the wall. So like you just don't get this in that early X-Men. And then no, we don't want to sell shoes. Nothing too much more to add in this, I guess. And this level of, this is a detailed shot. It just seems like if I had seen this art and the X-Men art, I would like be no way that's the same artist, or at least not the same year. That would be like, is that like 10 years of experience later? And like I said, I think it's just that he was like so busy and racing through to do as much art as he could. Oh my God, the mosque near me is making noise. Should I keep going or should I stop? I'm just gonna keep going and hope they're not too noisy. Fucking assholes. All right. The joy of, I used to do these live. I did a few of these live, and then I decided, no, I'm not situated to do these live. They seem to have already kind of decided, though, in this episode, even though this isn't the real Captain America, that we could take this in a direction that we don't really see in any of the other Marvel comics. Maybe Spider-Man. He might go on a space shuttle like this, uh, but that was not Jack Kirby. That was Steve Ditko doing the art. So, anyways, we get a final fight scene in which Captain America steals a mop, which is kind of silly, and Captain America does. I mean, this fake Captain America, he kind of destroys the Human Torch, and this thing of the Human Torch having this deficiency where he can only burn his body. Shut up, phone. Sorry, burn his body for so long. I think they kind of got rid of it in later episodes. This Captain America's face, he just doesn't look like a Captain America. He looks more like a criminal, right? Um, I don't think Captain America should be allowed to make this expression. I was thinking about how Kirby draws cars. They're not like they're very functional. Like I feel like Kirby could draw cars, but it wasn't like his main thing. He was much more. I mean, look at the dynamics in this character. He was always much more interested in like human figures than or even like making up his own vehicles and his own buildings and stuff rather than drawing things in a normal way. That's why like you look at the buildings and they're usually like look like out of some future weird world because he just got bored. He didn't want to do just regular boring buildings. And then the conclusion is Johnny Storm pulls off the guy's mask and he's like, oh, it's the acrobat, some character that we've definitely forgotten and that we'll never see again. Um, and then at the end, Johnny Storm goes home to read Captain America comics and wonder, should we revive this character? You guessed it, write to us, true believers, etc. So also, I like how the way that Captain America is depicted here is much more like a 1940s Captain America. Except for the shield. Like the shield back then was more like a, I don't know what that shape is called, uh, but I don't think it was a circle back then in the 40s. Anyways, apparently the demand was strong enough, and they brought back Captain America. So I would say this story is not the best in terms of like the actual idea behind it. So it's basically a thug disguised pulling crimes, but the dynamics are as great as anything. Kirby, that was like Kirby's thing is that he knew how to like every panel, something's happening, things are moving forward. We're like moving towards a destination, and Kirby's art is starting to enter probably its best phase from about 63, 64 to I don't know 70s, early 70s, and yeah, so not bad. Like I think this is a good encapsulation of what's possible. All right, and then let's just take a brief look at this backstory with Doctor Strange. I could see like how, like Ditko's art is not as dynamic. It's definitely much more rigid, but it's still very good, and it has like a sturdiness to it. I think the 9-panel page that Ditko used a lot is very. He was kind of the more conservative, both politically and like in terms of storytelling. But he would incorporate interesting, like this shot through this window at an angle is kind of interesting. The story is kind of stupid though. I mean, basically Doctor Strange has to go to England for some reason and they basically have a fight inside their heads. And yeah, these early Doctor Strange stories are really short. Oh, it's the end. Like 5 pages, I think. Let's see. Yeah, five pager. I think they were kind of still testing the waters, and also maybe Ditko. I don't know how fast he was. I think he did a lot of his own inking, and I think he liked Doctor Strange as a character. It was like a very important character to him, and I think when it became popular, he's like, okay, we'll start devoting more pages to him. But I don't know how long they get. I think they never get more than like at most 10 or 12 pages. So anyways, yeah, I don't really want to add much more about them. Just that Ditko is always I mean, it's a very different tone, Doctor Strange. There's not like people punching anyone. It's all this mental battle inside somebody's head. Doctor Strange has a very Asian look to him, doesn't he? I think they kind of tapered that off in later episodes. But he also looks a little like Vincent Price. I think that may have been one of the inspirations. So, anyways, I don't have anything. I'm not going to add much more on that. And yeah, what do you guys think of this first issue of Captain America? I'm going to probably, at future points, look at different Marvel comics because, like I said, I'm just reading through these in French, and right now I'm almost done with 1963, and I'm not. I've read a lot of these stories, so I'm kind of looking forward to a lot of the stories that I haven't gotten to. Like I think later Fantastic Four and other stuff. I think Spider Man. I've read maybe the first 70 or 80 issues, and yeah, so we'll look at a lot more in the future. And make sure you're subscribed. I look at comics and art all the time, and I plan to keep doing so. To see you there.